Hi, I'm Beverly Banov Brown, and today on authentic dating, this is a topic I hope I'd never have to make a magnifying glass go on, because I really had hoped that it would stop being so prevalent. The viewers of YouTube, my channel, Beverly Banov Brown MS, which I strongly invite you to join if you haven't already, are constantly writing to me now about the rudeness personified that goes on in restaurants, in school classrooms, in boardrooms, in major corporations, on many, many dates, and in all sorts of other places, including so-called family dinners. It's called phubbing. So many people are doing it, it had to be given a name. What is phubbing? Phubbing is using a cell phone or an iPad or some other conveyance to basically snub, so PH from phone and UBBING, phubbing, from those two words, has come into the language because so many people are ignoring each other. So many people are personifying rudeness and uncivil behavior, by doing this. What can you do about it? Let's put a magnifying glass on why it happens. And let's remember that there are many ways to give a message of either I do care and you matter to me, or I care, but I'm afraid for you to know how much I care, therefore I'm going to do my checking on my internet and my voicemails and my data entries while we're sitting in this beautiful restaurant and while we're having this supposedly intimate dinner. Or we're on a ride and we're supposedly enjoying the beautiful scenery. We're at a picnic, perhaps. We're at the beach. And instead of focusing on you, and maybe you're guilty of this too, and hopefully it's a wake-up call, you're disregarded, you're disengaged from the other person because they're so busy being preoccupied with what becomes like an umbilical cord to somebody else. Now, there are reasons sometimes, of course, why people have to do this. There are extenuating circumstances. Let's say someone's got someone in the hospital who's close to them and they need to be available constantly. A realtor, for example, who has just presented an offer for a client and is waiting for an acceptance or a rejection. They're in the midst of major negotiation and they have to be available. That's different. And if they've had the civility and sensitivity and empathy for you to say, this is what's happening right now, I hope you'll understand. Or if they have a child and the child's not feeling well and they've got a sense that they need to be immediately available by phone, that's different. That's not what phubbing is. Phubbing is an example of what I believe is an avoidance of intimacy. It is a very negative red flag, so negative I would classify it beyond red into deep crimson as a message to you that you may have rose-colored glasses on about this person, and maybe you need to see that this may be an example of character showing up. It is a person who lacks empathy, who treats you in such a dismissive and disregarding manner. I've seen numerous clients who are absolutely at their wits' end, often people who have been together for a long time, and frequently also people who are just on their first dates, when everybody is supposedly on their best behavior, trying to put their best foot forward, so to speak, and there they go. Sitting at the table over the meatloaf or the or the chicken paprikash or whatever else they're having, or the beautiful Cobb salad, And they're out to lunch, literally, because they're not focused on the conversation that you might be having, the sharing of information, the sharing of ideas, observing the passing scene, and all the joy of getting to really know another human being. Each time we know somebody new, each time we meet somebody, it opens up in another entire universe of possibilities and new connections and new interests and new enthusiasms, if we let it. So I believe, after all my years as a counselor and as a coach, that when people do this, they are unconsciously sabotaging the relationship. They may consciously imagine that they want to be close, that they want to really get to know you. What are they really doing? They are showing you with their behavior that they're terrified of intimacy. And it's not really all that different, is it, from when people suggest going on dates to a place where there is so much noise, a cocktail lounge, a club where there is dancing, and they absolutely have to shout over each other in order to hear because the music is so terribly loud. I've had clients, and I've done this myself, where I've actually brought earplugs because it was so deafeningly and actually dangerously intense music that while it might be fine for dancing for a short time, it's just about impossible to have any kind of real substantive interaction. People who do this habitually, who don't want to be with you in a quiet restaurant, who don't want to take an extended walk on the beach or in a park, who don't want to do things that are quiet and that allow you both to really get to know one another, are telling you, again, telling you by their choices and their actions, that they really have, very often, I believe, a fear of intimacy, a fear of really being seen, of being known, of being understood, because they're afraid underneath it all that they really don't have anything very much of interest to offer you. It is a fear-based behavior. It's unnecessary because at our core, all of us are beautiful and golden and inherently valuable and interesting and have so much to share. The challenge, of course, is that sometimes you're dealing with somebody who doesn't know it. And you might be that person. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that going to clubs or going dancing or doing things where there is loud music, like concerts, is not a good idea. Of course it is. But we're talking about situations like phubbing, which is an overt way of really saying, I don't give a damn about you. I'm just going through the motions. And it's a message that people will rationalize away very often. And then, of course, they're wearing the rose-colored glasses once again. And what does that lead to? Does that lead to the kind of quality, stability in a relationship that can allow for a real depth of understanding and sharing? No, my friends, it does not. I feel for you if you're going through this. I also believe, however, that, and this is part of the action plan I want to offer to you today, as some of the golden nuggets I would like to share from my heart right to yours, about how to deal with this. Again, it comes down to what are your standards, what feels right to you and what doesn't, what feels like a violation, because this is your time that you're devoting to this person and this potential relationship or an already existing relationship. So what are your standards like in this particular instance? What is it in you that needs perhaps to raise the bar on those standards and say, hey, I am an interesting person, and if this particular individual, for whatever the reason, out of fear of intimacy or out of fear of being boring themselves, whatever it is, or just so totally distracted by whatever their other interests and responsibilities are in life, is not really available to me, then what am I going to do about it? That's an important question. That's golden nugget number 1 for today. What is your level of appreciation of yourself so that you have determined what the standards are for how a companion or date is going to treat you? Golden nugget number 2. Very often like attracts like, so it's important to look at where might you inadvertently be doing something of this sort that is inadvertently rude to the other person, and not having realized it, now can wake up to it and make changes accordingly. Next golden nugget. Once you've gotten clarity about your standards and have perhaps rectified your own behavior, it's important to set a boundary and maintain it. Next golden nugget. Decide within yourself if this is no longer acceptable, phubbing or any other kind of distracting behavior on the part of the other person. Get clarity about what you want to say to let this person know that this is something that is causing you a certain amount of dissatisfaction. Express yourself, if it feels right to you, in an iMessage. Let me give you an example. When I see you constantly checking your voicemails, composing new texts, or checking your text constantly, it makes me feel like you don't really value our time together. And it makes me feel, whether I like it or not, that perhaps my time would be better spent either by myself or perhaps in the company of someone else. And then you can just really let them know. Saying it in an understanding way, saying it firmly, not adversarially, so they know you're not attacking them. You're simply saying, when I see you sitting there doing all of this, it makes me feel, and then you tell them whatever it is. And it makes me want to. And you fill in the blanks. See what they say, see how they react, try to make it a little bit lighthearted, and maybe let them know that the entire universe is actually not going to come to a grinding halt if they wait 15 minutes until you've had your apple pie or your peach cobbler and tea or coffee or whatever it is you're having, and you leave the restaurant together. Watch their response, see if they get defensive or if they suddenly have an aha moment where they say, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that, because most people don't seem to mind. And just let them know you're not most people. You're you, and your time matters, and the time together matters, or you wouldn't be there. And see what goes on. And make your determination accordingly whether or not you want to be with this person again or not. Remember, next golden nugget, you don't need to be with this person in order to be happy. There was life before you met them, and if necessary, there'll be a happier life, perhaps even more so, after they're out of your life, if need be. You have choices, you have options. You don't have to be put up with bad treatment. Rudeness personified. Phubbing, be gone. I'm Beverly Banov Brown. I hope you'll join the channel if you haven't already. Subscribing is free. Please check out my other topics. Authentic dating, radical gratitude, inner peace now, narcissistic relationships, certainly well related to phubbing. So much so I'm going to make another video just for the narcissistic relationships series on this. And mindful parenting, parenting with heart, holistic wellness, and I've probably left out a few, with new topics to be added very, very soon. And I hope you'll watch, and I hope you'll leave me a like if you've enjoyed any part of this, or if you relate to it. Even if you disagree with me, that's all good. And if you'd like to leave a commentary, I do enjoy hearing from you, and I make a major effort to respond to every one of you, though there are so many now, and personal emails from the channel. Please allow me some time. All right then, many blessings until we meet again. Bye for now.